Welcome to Publishing Power. My name is Joellen, and I am here again with Christina Stanley from Fictionary. Thank you, Christina, for joining us on the 38 Story Elements series.
Hi, Joellen. So today, of the 38 fictionary story elements, we're going to cover revelation and what that means to the writer and the reader.
Okay, so revelation. This is when something's happening with our main character. Am I right?
Yeah, that's close. A revelation is something that happens in the story that's significant. So it's a piece of information revealed that is going to force the characters in that scene. It doesn't necessarily have to be the protagonist, but the characters in that scene are going to react to it in some way. So they could have an emotional reaction, they could change their course of action in the plot, but it's critical that key revelations are really related to the story overall.
Okay. How do we know when this revelation is happening? How do we annotate this, and what are the impacts, the ripple effect of this on our story?
So when you're reviewing your scenes and you're going through your editing process, you're going to be looking for key pieces of information that come out. And the way to know it's a revelation is, did it impact the character or the protagonist or the antagonist? Or if it didn't impact anyone, it's not really a big revelation. It's just a piece of the scene. Or did the characters change their course of action because of this piece of information? Then you know it's an important revelation to the story.
Okay. And so then they're reacting to this either through making a decision or doing something different. And
Right.
can you give us some examples here of how this works and how this impacts the other characters in the scenes?
So a big one would be, so say there's a couple in a restaurant and they're having dinner. And at this point in the story, the husband's having an affair. The wife knows it, but she hasn't revealed it yet to the husband. So they're having this nice dinner, and then in walks the woman he's having an affair with.
Okay.
And so the husband, up until this point, has been trying to keep his marriage together, keep everything calm. And at that point, the wife can't contain it anymore. And so she lets it rip. And there's the revelation to the main character, who's the husband in this story, that she knows about it. And now he has to react in some way. He can't not react to that. And he's either going to continue with this course of action to keep his marriage together, or he's going to do something and it's going to rip the whole thing apart. But there can't not be a reaction in that case.
Okay. Okay. And then for the other people in the scenes, are they reacting to this? Are they aware of it, or how is
Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the story. It doesn't have to be every character. It's really just for that scene, who is it important that they react? Like, we don't care what the server thinks, unless of course the server is one of their children. But if there's just a server there, that's fine. It's not a revelation to them. It might be interesting because it's an exciting thing to watch, but it's not a revelation to them, and they're not going to continue on in the story.
Okay. Okay. So how are we going to find this and fix it in our stories, or at least validate that we're doing it correctly?
Right. So what you want to look for when you're going through your scenes, just like when we talked about conflict and tension, you want to keep track of what revelations happened in each scene and who is in the scene. And there's several reasons for doing this. One, you want to make sure that if a character in a future scene references this revelation, you can go back and check, were they actually in the scene where this was revealed? Because if they weren't in the scene and nobody told them about it, they can't react to it. And so it's a way of closing off on plot holes where you might forget that they weren't there. So you need to keep track of not only the revelation, but who knows it. And that's a very important feature. You also, when you're going through and you're looking at your tension, if you're finding that there's scenes that lack tension, you can look and see, well, was something revealed too early so everybody knows about it, so the suspense is gone and the conflict has happened, and now there's no suspense about it and the reader's not worried about it. You can also look at it from the point of view, if something's revealed too late, is it confusing, or does it take away the tension because no one knows about the revelation, and so they haven't created a baseline for tension in the scene.
Okay.
So it's a biggie in that it relates really to tension and conflict. And the other thing to watch is when you have a big revelation, is it followed up on? So if you mark down every big one in your story, you can go back and see at the end, did you close off on those? And that way, again, you're avoiding plot holes.
Okay, good. So we're going to look for plot holes related to Revelation. How are we going to do that?
So this is where we get back to my list making as you're reading. So you've already kept track of who's in every scene. You've already kept track of the tension and conflict of every scene. And now, right with that, you want to keep track of the revelations in every scene. And there doesn't have to be a revelation in every scene, but you need to know as an author which scenes they're in,
Okay.
who is in that scene with them, and is it affecting the tension or the conflict within the scene.
Okay. All right, so we've got to go back into our scenes again, dig in, make sure it works out, tie up those loopholes, those plot holes, shall I say, and make sure everything's working together to create that fantastic story that we're looking for. So again, I think we've got a lot of tasks for us, but this is going very well, and we appreciate you all coming along on the journey for the 38 story elements. Thanks, Christina.
Thanks to Ellen.